we have some observations as far as the Rays go anyway.
And perhaps some stats. Small sample size, but some stats as well. So let's get started right now.
You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, my name is Kevin Weiss.
I'm Ulises Sambrano.
And we're the host of the Locked On Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for making us your very first listen every day. Be sure you check out and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Locked On Rays, as well as all the other podcasting platforms that are available. We are also on social media, Twitter and Instagram at Locked On Rays, and email us anytime. You can even send us a voice memo that way, lockedonrays@gmail.com. So I honestly don't know how many more games are left in spring training. I just know that we're in the vicinity of the midway point of spring training, and I believe the Rays are just about 500. I think 9-8 last time I checked. Not that it really matters. Look, spring training records and stats at the end of the day don't matter, don't count. It's glorified scrimmages. Kansas City, for example, is 14-5. What does that tell you? But having said that, there certainly are some things to glean, or at least some observations and takeaways that we can make and have fun with. So with that, Ulises, what has tickled your fancy, caught your eye thus far, weeks into spring training?
Well, my couple takeaways, of course, because it's the World Baseball Classic, do have some World Baseball Classic flavor. And the first one, Kevin, it's Osleivis Basabe, the kid from Venezuela, from Zulia. Like, I know, people, it's only 21 plate appearances. We all know, small sample sizes. But his numbers, dude, a 474 average, 524 on base, 684 slug. That's a 1.208 OPS. He's athletic. He's a middle infielder. I haven't heard awful things about the glove. So given all of that, this kid, it won't be this year, but come next year, you want somebody in the utility role, maybe what we all thought Taylor Walls or Vidal Brujan could be. Osleivis Basabe is kind of like knocking at the door right now saying, hey, put me in, coach.
So Basabe, who you can kind of salivate at the bat, maybe not quite yet the power, but just sort of that Yandy Diaz mold of approach and ability to square up bat to ball. You don't think he makes any appearance for the Rays this year?
I would put it on the very low percentage. I think Taylor Walls would have to be injured, and Vidal Brujan has been traded, and I think a lot of dominoes would have to fall for Osleivis Basabe to get the call up. I don't see it. Maybe as a September call up.
Right.
I would see that.
Maybe September call up before we had limits on 28-man rosters instead of 40-man rosters. That might have been a consideration there. Yeah, True. It seems like as of right now, yes, there are a lot of infield types on the 40-man roster. We haven't even mentioned Jonathan Aranda or Curtis Mead as of this point. But so as far as a podium goes, though, with Basabe, are you more bullish on him compared to Taylor Walls and or Vidal Brujan in 2024, 2025?
Yeah, I am. I am not ready to scratch off Taylor Walls and Vidal Brujan's bat ability in MLB. But after this season, I will. I mean, if Taylor Walls is given the opportunity for another 300 at bats, and he kind of performs like he did last year, then that's the kind of player that he is, and that's okay. Like, you can be that player, and you can have a major league career for multiple years, Kevin.
Yeah,
but it can't be with a team that has an anemic offense. You just can't carry that, and the Rays know that because they couldn't carry Brett Phillips. So you can't carry somebody like that. I understand there are a lot of positives about Taylor Walls. The base running is incredible. He's a fast guy. His work ethic is up through the roof, and the glove is tremendous. You got to give me something on the other side, though. You got to give me something, because people usually, like, now that there are so many stats that you can kind of build a narrative, people are like, but look at this side. Look at all of the things he does well on this side of the ball. But it's overall value, people. It's overall value. So overall, yeah, I'm more bullish on Osleivis Basabe right now, but I'm not saying that Taylor Walls and Vidal Brujan are completely off the page. I think they're still playable.
For the record, Basabe played 55 plus games at Double-A last season, so I would think he would need some more seasoning. But at every level, it's like he's hitting 320, 330. And I mentioned Yandy Diaz comps. He's Yandy Diaz with wheels. He can steal a bag for you, and he can play theoretically second, third, or shortstop. I would not be surprised in the least if the Rays are in the business of clearing some of those infield spots. Vidal Brujan, see you later. I don't want to go into all the names, but I would think of if I agree with you. I think that the organization probably is more bullish on Basabe than several of the other infielders that are on the 40-man right now. It's just he's not quite ready yet. He needs more seasoning.
And that's why I said I don't think you're going to see him in 2023. Like, you give him every chance he can to get better at AAA and see that type of pitching. You mentioned Yandy Diaz. It's a good comp. 2 walks, 2 strikeouts in 21 plate appearances for Osleivis. So I really do like that.
And the Rays need him to pan out, considering he was a return in the Nate Lowe deal and what Nate Lowe is doing for the Texas Rangers. Look, Basabe and Nate Lowe are 2 completely different players, but you still want that guy or those guys acquired in that deal to work out. Again, Basabe, I don't think is ever going to be a 25, 30, 35 homer guy like Nate Lowe, but he can serve a role for you in time, hopefully.
And he doesn't have to be, right? You can always give value a different way. But you did mention a name, which is my second takeaway. And again, a little WBC flavor. I mentioned this on Monday's episode, which basically just became like a rant.
A rant against me for hating the World Baseball Classic or not getting on board.
It wasn't targeted at anybody specifically, but I did say I came up with it. I think Jonathan Aranda is basically a non-factor in the opening day roster, given the fact that he was allowed to play in the WBC. I think they said, hey, man, you're not part of the opening day roster. If you want to do it, go do it, because we're not counting on you, which therefore means Luke Raley and Josh Lowe have apparently made the opening day roster. Like, I think the writing is on the wall because of Jonathan Aranda going to the WBC. I don't know if you agree with that.
No, I agree with that. That's an astute point you made there, and I wouldn't necessarily have focused too much on the Aranda thing. I was just kind of focusing more on what Luke Raley and Josh Lowe have shown thus far in spring training. So that's the way it's looking, I think. And again, Luke Raley, I think if he can handle first base, then the Rays would certainly be okay with carrying Raley and Josh Lowe on the opening day roster. Assuming that Raley plays first and J-Lo plays in the outfield, and maybe some DH for Raley as well. And that's the thing is, we talk about Basabe, we talk about Aranda, we haven't even mentioned Curtis Mead. Like, there's a glut there. I feel like, if the Rays are struggling out the gate with some offensive firepower and punch, maybe you can come up with some sort of package of Aranda plus Brujan, or take your pick your poison to acquire some sort of veteran presence on the roster.
Yeah, and every year that glut gets heavier. It seems like since 2019, since we've done this podcast, like every year it just gets heavier and heavier, that farm system. So
I mean, before you know it, you got Kyle Manzardo, you've got Mason Hour, you've got Carson Williams. I mean, I know there's different timelines for all those guys, but those are the next wave of individuals that are knocking on the door.
And again, you still have the Aranda, Lowe's, and Bruhans that either put up or be traded. Like that's that's where they are right now, because the next wave is coming.
Yeah, certainly. The midway point of the NBA season is here, and now is the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. That is because new customers get a no-sweat first bet for up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. So just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It is safe, secure, and super easy to use. You can bet on everything from the money line to point scores and threes drained. Plus, FanDuel even lets you combine your bets for a chance at a larger payout with a same game parlay. So don't miss the chance to get your no sweat first bet for up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to fanduel.com/locked on. That's fanduel.com/locked on, LOCKEDON, to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. So getting to a couple of my large scale takeaways from spring training thus far. And I've got to be frank, I have watched very, very little spring training baseball. Really, the only spring training baseball that I have watched has been in person. One of those being a Phillies Tigers game. The other, so I can give you a Parker Meadows and Austin Meadows scouting report if you so choose. And then the other being a Rays and Phillies spring training game in Clearwater, which was the temperature read 82, 83 degrees, but it felt like 95 in the baking sun. I mean, a great day for baseball and a great day for drinking beers and staying hydrated. But man, it felt like 95 compared to 82. A lot more Rays fans than I would have expected out of the 7,500 fans that were
nice.
at the Clearwater ballpark, if I may add. But one thing that I wanted to touch on, I'm glad you mentioned it, Taylor Walls. So he is evidently back in action after missing the first couple of weeks of spring training and workouts due to that oblique. So having said that, are you under the impression that he is going to make the opening day roster now that he is getting back into the swing of things, literally and figuratively, in mid-March right now?
Yeah, I think they're just taking it, very cautiously with him because they really do like him and because they want to carry him opening day. I'm sure that if it's July, he would have been playing.
Yeah.
But, why do that on March 8th? It doesn't make sense.
And
so I think he'll be fine.
Given his return, John Romano with the Tampa Bay Times wrote a little ditty on Taylor Walls. He has evidently made some minor adjustments to his stance at the plate to hopefully address some issues with pitches up in the zone and making solid contact with hittable pitches, which I went back and looked at some video of Taylor Walls from last season. And I think he, between batting righty and lefty, like he had like 5 or 6 different batting stances. Like he was just trying to find something that would stick. So maybe working with this private hitting instructor will do him wonders, because per this Romano article, Taylor Walls set history, and not in a good way, because in the last 100 years, only 3 players have ever had a batting average below 175 while staying in a lineup long enough to get at least 450 plate appearances. The first 2 were Chris Davis and Adam Dunn. Obviously, we know them as a power hitter. Taylor Walls, more known for his defense and getting at bats because of circumstance and injury and so forth. So it got me thinking about, I wasn't necessarily today focusing on this episode of, hey, let's talk about Taylor Walls. But now that I think about it, last year he got 466 plate appearances. This year he's going to get question mark. I'm trying to figure out what that number is. Is it going to be 250? Is it going to be 300? Is it going to be 350? Is he going to make major improvements with the bat? We know he can steal a bag. We know he can draw a walk. We know he can work a count. It's just about being able to do damage on pitches he's supposed to do damage on. I mean, if you look at his savant numbers, they're dreadful, to say the least. So that's the question. Is I'm wondering how many ABs that Taylor Walls is going to get.
Well, he only got that many last year because of all the injuries, right?
Right.
We know this. You know, they didn't have any other plan. This was it. Hey, Taylor, please take care of this for us. So, what was that you said? 466 plate appearances. Yeah,
Yes.
that's no bueno when you have a 66 WRC plus. Wow.
Yeah.
I keep forgetting it was that low, man. 66 WRC plus. Yeah, if it's anything like that, if it's anything like 70, 60, 75, anything below 80,
Right.
you can't give him more than 300 at bats. You can't.
Yeah.
Cannot do it.
Well,
Unless everybody's just jacking the heck out of the ball. Randy's going off, Isak, and Brendan
Right.
Lau is back to 2021, maybe. But a dude that's giving you 66 WRC plus, I mean, you can write sonnets about his defense.
Right.
I don't care. I would just show you 66 WRC plus. And then you would have to say, yeah, you're right. We can't play that guy. We can't play that guy for 466 plate appearances. You can't.
Yeah.
It's a baseball crime.
And depending on who's pitching that day and how they work the bullpen and so forth and align the defense, like, yes, Taylor Walls is a terrific elite defender at multiple positions, but how many balls is he getting per game? How many balls are coming his way? Now, again, I think his defensive value goes up several ticks because of the limited defensive shifts, but there could be games where he only gets 1 or 2 or 0 balls hit his way, but he might be at the plate 3 or 4 or 5 times in a ball game. So that'll be really interesting to see how that shakes out. That's the first thing. I also wonder if, he's got to get above the Mendoza line this year. Like, if he doesn't, I know we talk about batting average and everybody likes to poo-poo that, but if you don't get above the Mendoza line like that, what is your future with the organization going forward?
Kevin, I understand when people say batting average is sometimes obsolete or it's not the whole complete picture. I get that. I understand that. And they are right. Now, when you say that it's obsolete, I can't help but just think, tell me a player who's hit 180 that's really good.
Yeah.
It's not obsolete. Batting average is not the whole picture. Like, people used to think, 300 average, like that's good. But let me, give me more information about the guy. But there has never been in MLB history, and there will never be a guy that hits 175 and goes to the Hall of Fame, or is a multi all-star guy, or is ever a top player in the league. Like, that just doesn't exist, and it will never exist. I'm sorry. So no, when he puts up numbers like this, dude, I just if everybody does not have them memorized, here you go. 172 average, 268 on base, a 285 slug. I can't.
Well, here's the thing. So if his numbers stay in that ballpark, and hopefully they don't, hopefully these changes mirror themselves, and it's not just because, we hear about this all the time. This is just, you got to write about something during spring training, and not everybody can have the best swing of their life, be in the best shape of life, feel like they're going to have the best year of their life. Like, guys are going to go off the rails, but spring training is a time for hope and optimism. And, this guy looks good. This guy's doing this. Again, you're playing in glorified scrimmages. You might have done a bunch of work in the offseason, and it might not matter a lick. And that could be the case with Taylor Walls. But I'll tell you, if Taylor Walls has in this vicinity of numbers and WRC plus and everything that's tied in with that, the more at bats he has, the worse that the Rays are off. So we should look at it as a scale. If we're looking at 2022 Taylor Walls in 2023, the fewer at bats, the better. So if he's forced to get 450, 460 at bats, you're looking at a team that's probably going to win, 84 to 86 games. If you see Taylor Walls again with these numbers in 2023, and he has 200, 250 at bats, then that tells you that guys are staying healthy and guys are stepping up in other ways.
Exactly. Very well put. Very concise. I love that. That's exactly how it should be. Now, if you wanted to be a super positive person and you think, oh, these guys are just focusing on the negative, I will tell you this. Every projection, if you go to Fangraphs, Zips, BadX, ATC, FGTC, Steamer, all of them, they do give them a projection, WRC plus between 78 and 91.
Okay.
So that would be an improvement. Hopefully that comes true. A better offensive Taylor Walls is great. Like it would be perfect. Because that would be such a valuable utility guy for the race to have. But yeah, I hope so, man. But I wouldn't,
Right.
I'll wait until I see it happen.
That's fair. The other observation I have, and not really on the field necessarily, but Ulises, have you been to a spring training game at the Trop yet?
No, not at the Trop.
Okay. Have you, and you probably haven't, but have you looked up what it costs to park at the Trop for a spring training game this year?
$5?
You're very close. $8. $8. Why can't the Rays do this for the games that matter, or work in some sort of promotion of, hey, if you're carpooling with 2 or more, 3 or more, 4 or more people, then you get the discount. Or if you've been to more than 1 or 2 or 3 Rays games this season, yeah, we'll give you that that parking discount. $8 is lovely. I can deal with $8. When we're talking about $20, not to mention those games that, again, you're trying to go on a weekday and you're trying to navigate the traffic and you're trying to navigate the parking before and after the game. It's just not a fun experience. Now, I get it. If you just want to say, hey, when the Yankees are in town, the Red Sox are in town, these 3 or 4 teams are in town, fine. Okay, I can understand it. But, and again, Orioles are better now than they were in the past. But the Orioles are in town. The Royals are in town. The fill-in-the-blank Pirates, Nationals are in town. Team of that ilk, why can't we make parking $8, $10? That's all I'm asking here. If you're doing it during spring training, do it during the regular season as well.
I agree 100% of everything you said. I'll subscribe to that. As you should also subscribe to the YouTube channel, please. I $8, like that's so manageable. Like imagine you left work early, you get stuck in traffic, you're crossing the bridge, everything's a mess, you've got your kids, and then you finally get there and there's the cops are in the middle of the way, and you finally get there and they're like, oh, $20. You like, oh my goodness, like, no, it's not great. And you said, oh, if you have 4 people in your car, it would be free. And then people are like, oh, you can't do that. They did it.
Yes.
I'm that old, and I've been going to the Trop for over 20 years that I remember, and Pepperidge Farms remembers that used to be a thing. 4 people in a car, you're in for free. Stu,
again,
remember
the
your
Rays,
ways.
The Rays
Stu,
are very,
on.
the Rays are very progressive. Green initiative. Hey, if you're lugging in 4 more people in a vehicle, here's your $8. And that would also have the added effect of, the Rays at the end of the day may lose money on that, but that may have the added effect of, it would, fewer cars trying to navigate through traffic and trying to navigate through the single lane to get in and out. The ingress and egress, 1 car compared to 2 or 3 would be much more palatable for me, and I think the rest of the fan base as well. Just throwing that out there. If you can look, the Rays have already done a good thing by offering $10 tickets to all home games, from my understanding, this season for certain areas. I just know that, hey, if you want to go to a game, you can get in for $10. The parking thing is a separate deal. So just knock down that parking and I'll be much, much happier camper. So we have some listener takes and comments on spring training. Apparently the fans have, I don't know what they do all day, because I guess they've got some actual analysis on the field, which we'll get into. We got a lot of interesting comments from them. But Ulises, we have to tell everybody about our next sponsor.
That's right, and that's Mobile Game Ultimate Baseball GM. If you're listening to this episode, which of course, you're doing and you're subscribing to the YouTube channel, you're a baseball fan. So I know that you've dreamt of becoming an MLB GM. And so this dream can come true if you play this game. So manage every strategic aspect of the team. You play through the season and you lead your team to glory. You're responsible for hiring the right coaches and staff, scouting and drafting players, and navigating the franchise through free agency and all the ups and downs through the season. All this in a challenging and realistic game world. Ultimate Baseball GM is completely free and playable offline, which is awesome. You can play on the go and you don't need anything else. Okay, when you want to play, you can have it. So, Locked On Rays listeners get 100% free boost to their franchise when using the promo code Locked On, LOCKEDON, in the game store. So please make sure to check that out. To download the game, you can visit probaseballgm.com. You can scan the code, or guess what? It's 2023. Look it up on the App Store. Much, much simpler. So again, Ultimate Baseball GM, start your dynasty today.
All right, we put it out on Twitter. The Rays have reached the midway point of spring training 2023. What are your takes and observations of the squad thus far? Ty McCann says Luke Raley deserves a roster spot, and he's going to be a key lefty bat for us to start the year, hopefully. David Lopez says, with the caveat that spring training results are not indicative of anything, I think this offense has the potential to be far better than most were expecting. Do you agree with that?
If they stay healthy.
Yeah. Joshua Garner and John believe that Tristan Gray is legit. I mean, I think he has legit tools, power for sure, some speed, athleticism to his name, but he strikes out a crap ton. That's untenable, quite frankly. And he's not even on the 40-man, is he?
I don't believe so.
So, yeah, that might be perhaps a trade candidate. We'll see.
Yeah.
Grant Johansson says the offense has the possibility of being really deadly. If we get hot at the right time and stay healthy, we can go deep in October this year. Florida Man says WBC Classic is great for some starters to get playoff baseball in early, and now we get more of our prospects more at bats to show off in spring training. MLB Saradsky says, he says Josh Reiki, but I guess he means Luke Raley, because I don't know who Josh Reiki is, unless it's, create a player.
A combination, like maybe Josh and Raley. I don't know. That's funny.
Oh yeah, possibly. So Josh and or Raley are here to stay. Harold needs to be traded. Harold Ramirez needs to be traded. Okay.
I mean, we've said this since his player review we did last year. Like, you could sell high.
Yeah,
you could do that.
That would be the
you
time
open
to
up a spot for Curtis Meads to start right away, which, by the way, won't happen. But you do open up a spot there. Yeah. If you wanted to carry both Aranda, Raley, and Lowe, you could do that.
Yeah, you would just have to work it where they're kind of rotating DH. I don't know if you want to designate anybody that can be that full-time DH guy, more or less. And again, you are, at the end of the day, earlier on in the season, you'd be, or whenever they trade him, you would be taking a veteran player with some pizzazz and some charisma out of the lineup and clubhouse. So that matters some as well. Bumblebee says we tried bringing up some AAA offense and it wasn't that successful. Maybe they'll do better this year. I swear to God, if this season has as many injuries as last year, yeah, nobody wants that. Brian Kim says, really hope Josh Lowe and Luke Raley can make the opening day roster. We'll see. Brian Stark says Josh Lowe needs everyday playing time, and Vidal Brujan is trade fodder at this point. And then Chris Snyder says, for a team that fielded Yoshi Tsutsugo and Jordan Luplow, I don't see how Tristan Gray couldn't earn at least a couple of games to show his power and ability to hit on a higher level. Dude has bled for this team. Okay, so
that's a lot to say about Tristan Gray.
I mean, it's Tristan. I don't have the numbers off the top of my head. Is Tristan Gray just going bananas in spring training? Again, context, folks. This is against guys that are working out their repertoires, that are just trying to loosen the muscles, that quite frankly don't care, or just hoping to get out of the game and go to the bar before traffic hits.
Yeah.
Guys that'll be in single A, double A, triple A. Like, this is not and again, you can look at what he's done in the minor leagues. The numbers speak for themselves, but I see a guy who hit 33 bombs and still had like a 760 OPS in triple A. That doesn't bode well for me.
And I think his K rate is above 30% as well, if I
So
remember
if
correctly.
his K rate is above 30% in triple A,
I believe
think
so.
about it in the minors. Well, he had like 159 strikeouts and had to be close to 500 plate appearances or at bats. I mean, you might as well add 10 percentage points to that strikeout rate.
I know we're running long here, but I do want to make the point with Tristan Gray. Okay, so 32% K rate. Woof. 225 average, 282 on base, 487 slug. That's an OPS of 769. I get it. So he has pop, but man, 32% strikeout rate
at AAA.
At AAA. If you remember this, and I always say this just because it's such a great imagery for Rays fans that have been Rays fans for a long time. Imagine Carlos Pena. Go back in your memory file. Mm-hmm. Carlos Pena, and you're like, oh man, Carlos Pena used to strike out a heck ton. 25% career average. 25%. So you're telling me Tristan Gray, who has a 32% strikeout in AAA, I think you're reaching, Mr. Snyder. I think you're reaching, and everybody else who had that comment.
Yeah. Quad-eye player, maybe give him fill in a pinch. I mean, I would think that if Tristan Gray is getting hefty, meaningful at bats at the big league level for the Rays, then something has gone terribly, terribly wrong. Like Taylor Walls, you should probably have more confidence in Taylor Walls at the big league level than Tristan Gray at the big league level.
If the Rays haven't added him to the 40, you should scratch your head and question, why? So there it is.
He doesn't walk either, by the way. For a guy with that pop, 159
6%.
strikeouts to 30 walks.
Come on, guys.
No.
I know we want pop. I know that. I understand that, but let's just and lefty pop. I get it, but not at that rate.
I mean, I want him, protecting me at the club. I want him on my beer league softball team. I don't want him anywhere near my major league roster. I'm sorry. All right, there we go. Locked on Tristan Gray. We done. Thank you for making us your first listen every day. Now make your second listen the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast. That is also free and available on all platforms. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Stay safe, and we will talk to you on Friday.